This is Money, Motivation, and Mike, and I am your host, Michael Wainwright. In charge of all the controls in the show is Jason Wright. And hello to you, world. This is the show that will change your life. You can contact us at info@mx3.vip and find all of our new content at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our new content, which Jason puts out around 9 o'clock every Monday morning. Okay, viewing and listening audience, here we are as we end the year in our New Year's Eve, New Year's Day reflect and what we're going to do moving forward. We are finally here to talk about it. One of the things we're going to talk about here momentarily, Jason, is goals. And as we went into the 2024 year, we had some good momentum that by the end of the second quarter had turned into a snowball of momentum. We reestablished our goals, and our goal for 2024 was to have 100,000 subscribers by December the 31st, 2024. And I am proud to say Money, Motivation, and Mike enters this episode a couple of days before the end of the year with 105,262 subscribers. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Not going to sit here and just continue to talk about this, and obviously a whole lot of that, Jason, is the hard work that you put in, and I'm appreciative of that. Our views, our watch time, our subscribers, our total subscribers over the last 48 hours, over the last 28 days, is just incredible. 105,262 subscribers on YouTube. And I don't know what the percentage is, and we're going to talk about some percentages here. How many podcast and YouTube shows, and of course we're talking about YouTube right now, ever get to 100,000 subscribers? Is that a possibility to even know that number?
I don't know that number, but I can look into it. But
well, you just go ahead and look into that. And if you come up with something, I'd love to hear about it. But nevertheless, Christmas is now behind us. And speaking of Christmas, the United States of America got something for Christmas this year, Jason, that I'm going to say most people, including myself, thought we had already received. I'm going to say that most people over the last 250 years thought we had already received this. And it is the bald eagle. President Joe Biden signed the bald eagle on Christmas Eve as now the official national bird of the United States of America. We have a bald eagle on the all kinds of things, all kinds of documents when it comes to United States government. And for 250 years, we didn't even know that the bald eagle was not the official bird of the United States of America.
It's the unofficial bird, I guess.
Everybody thinks it is and was, and I'd like to know how many politicians thought it was. So it's been our national emblem in the U.S. for years, appearing on the Great Seal of the U.S. and the U.S. documents. Since 1782, the bald eagle has appeared on U.S. documents. And just a couple of days ago, it finally became the official bird of the United States of America. Incredible.
Fantastic.
That's lovely. Joe's going out in style. Hey, but on the other hand, he accomplished something the other 40-something of them couldn't get done. So, thank you, Joe. Thank you, Joe, very much. New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
Before moving on.
Yes, sir.
0.6% of all YouTube channels reach 100,000.
0.6.
Yes.
0.06 of a percent. That's some good company.
Yes.
Thank you, viewing and listening audience. Thank you very much. Last year, Jason, our New Year's Eve, New Year's Day show was one of the most listened to and watched shows that we put in last year. And I can tell you today's show is going to be better than last year's show. So, moving right along here and getting involved in it and how we have came to January the 1st every year. The Julian calendar, proposed by Julius Caesar in 46 BC. It was a reform of the Roman calendar. It took effect January the 1st, 45 BC. Now, when I first read that, I go, that's backwards. But I had to put into play that BC goes down.
Yeah.
So that's why it went from 46 to 45. It took my brain a little longer to get going there. The calendar became the predominant calendar in the Roman Empire, and subsequently, most of the Western world for more than 1,600 years, continues to this day. The Roman calendar began the year on January the 1st, and this remained the start of the year after the Roman reform. However, there were other local calendars that were involved in other parts of the country, and it is the calendar we use today, all the way back to 46 BC, adopted in 45, but there were many countries that did not start when Rome did. And going back, I don't even know if Rome, we know what Rome is. Was Italy even a country in 46 BC? I don't know the answer to that, but we're going to stick with Rome, and we'll go from there. But most nations from Europe and their colonies officially adopted January 1st as years go on. France did not adopt till 1564, the calendar we use now.
Rome was 753 BC.
Wow. Incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Working on 3,000 years.
Incredible.
As we were talking off the line here, it's amazing when you go back and you do this research of how we have some of these things, or all these things that we have now, and how old and how ancient it is, and how brand new and fresh the United States of America, North America, South America, just the whole the two continents, how brand new we really are compared to the rest of the world.
Right.
Moving on there, 1564 for France, Germany 1544, the Netherlands 1556, Portugal 1556, Sweden, Norway, Denmark 1599. You can see all this is kind of coming in there in the 1500s. Scotland came in 1600. Russia didn't come along till 1700 on adoption. And then we come to England, Wales, Ireland, the Great Britain. They did not adopt this calendar till January the 1st, 1752. And we align a whole lot of things with, obviously, England. And of course, they've adopted it in 1752. So you know what we're going to do in 1776. Or I even got a trivia question for you that I don't know the answer to. Have we even adopted the calendar? Do we just go with it like we did the bald eagle?
That's very true.
We'll get somebody on that too. So, nevertheless, there's how you get to New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, going back 2,250 years to 46 BC, adopted in 45 BC. Now, moving right along here, and let's reflect on some of the things that did happen in 2024, a lot of things. But it seemed to be a year that we lost a lot of people that we know a whole lot about. And I look back on that, and you think about these actors and actresses that were very popular in the 70s and the 80s, and maybe even into the late 60s, and how they have reached those ages of 80 and 90 years old. And that's why a lot of these movie stars that we knew from those eras are now passing away. And Glynis Johns, Mary Poppins, 100 years old. David Soul of Starsky and Hutch. He was Hutch.
Okay.
He's 80 years old. Most people don't know. I don't think that most people know of this person. Dexter Scott King, 62 years old, the son of Martin Luther King Jr. Passed away in January. All those passed away in January. In May, Grayson Murray. I don't know if you remember this story. We may have even touched on it for a moment on our show here back in May. Grayson Murray, PGA golfer, had won an event in early 2024. Gave him exemption for the rest of the year, and I don't know how far because I don't really recall what the exemption qualifications were on the particular event he won. But he's a professional golfer. He's 30 years old. In May, on a Saturday afternoon, walks off the 16th green, straight to wherever, the clubhouse, turned his stuff in, went to his hotel room, and that night committed suicide. And it jolted the PGA Tour. Isn't that incredible?
Very unfortunate.
Walking right down the fairway. Finished up the 16th hole, didn't finish up 18, and went on, and just won. That's why this mental illness that becomes more and more popular, and hopefully 2025 will be the year where it really, really gets going. Donald Sutherland, 88, passed away this year. Had a long illness. Didn't say what it was. Shannon Daugherty. I always consider her the bad girl. She was only 53. Beverly Hills 90210.
Yes.
I was a fan of hers. She died of cancer. Richard Simmons, everyone's number one fitness coach, 76 years old, just died peacefully at home. Dr. Ruth, everyone's sex therapist, 96 years old. Shelley Duvall, she was the actress on the other end of the door in The Shining when Jack Nicholson said, "Here's Johnny." She's 75 years old, diabetes complications. I wonder how many nightmares she has had about Jack Nicholson.
Right.
I wonder if she's had as many as I have. But God rest her soul, she is no longer suffering now. John Amos, actor. Now, he was in a lot of shows, but he was 83 years old, and he was the dad on Good Times.
Okay. Yep.
Jimmy Walker, one that was very close to me in October. Fernando Valenzuela, 63 years old. Fernando, 1981, World Series champion, MVP of the World Series, etc. Now, this next one had a lot to do with a lot of music in this world. Quincy Jones, 91, music producer. I don't want to know if I want to say he was Michael Jackson's right-hand man, but he had a lot of influence on Michael Jackson. Big hit, Thriller.
Yep.
Right on down the list. Here's another one that we've all grew and known to love. Chuck Woolery, game show host. How many game shows has he hosted? 2 and 2. I don't know if you remember that, Jason. We'll be back in 2 and 2. 2 minutes and 2 seconds. Game show host, 82 years old, Chuck Woolery. And not a lot of people may not know Bobby Allison. I remember him forever because I watched a lot of NASCAR. 86-year-old legend, passed away peacefully as well. Those are just a few of the people that we know that have went on to bigger and better things in the year of 2024. Now, moving right along here. And we're moving into what we're going to do after this New Year's Eve, New Year's Day is gone. We touched on some of this last year, but this year we're going to go a little bit farther in depth on how we're going to get to where it is we're going to go. As you know, on this show, we are big on information. We're big on goals. We're big on setting goals and sticking to them. And to me, the number one thing that you should be doing, besides recovering from your night before, I'm going to touch on that here in a minute too, Jason. You recovering from your night before, eating, black eyed peas?
Yep.
How many times have you eaten black eyed peas on New Year's Day?
Most years.
Have you?
Yeah.
I have eaten black eyed peas on New Year's Day 0 out of 55 years. Unless there was something stuck in my baby juice.
Yeah.
Back a long time ago. Not a black eyed pea lover.
No, me neither.
but I do believe in some of those superstitions, just not the black-eyed pea. Back on goals. And goals, this is something everybody in the viewing and listening audience has to do on January the 1st. And I'm going to go back over some of these stats. I've actually got some new stats that we have not touched on, because we've touched on goals a couple years ago. We have an episode on goals. I touched on goals last year for the New Year's resolution episode. But here we go. 3%. A fact. Harvard researchers. Now, I've used a Yale in the past as well from I believe 1976. Harvard researchers found that 83% of the population do not have goals. 83%. You know, I always go big on the 80-20 rule. Well, that's close, but 83% on something so important. 14% have a goal in their head, but don't write it down. And only 3% have goals that are written down. Is that not incredible?
Absolutely.
Incredible. 14. Do it another way. 83 people out of 100 that you run into today have no thoughts on what they want to do on January the 2nd, the first week of January, the first month of the year. They have no clue. And like I went back and said, we had a goal, and our goal was kind of making our show bigger. And as the year went on, we had a number goal, which ended up being 100,000. And we still have a few days left, and we're already at 105,262. You've got to write down those goals. I did write down those goals. Okay. 14% had plans, but did not write them down. Now, why would you put it in your mind? Know that you need to put it on paper, put it on a Post-it note, stick it on your mirror, stick it in your car. Why would we not do that? I don't know. What is the power of writing down your goals? Of the 3% that write down the goals, you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals if you write them down. 42%. That's almost 50%. You have a 50% chance of achieving your goal if you write it down. Why would you not want to do that? I mean, these are known facts. It's not money, motivation, and Mike talk. It's not Harvard talk. It's not Yale talk. It is research. People who have been polled, everyday walking Americans and people around the world that you rub elbows with on a regular basis. Now, every January, millions of people set goals. Well, we know millions, but we know 3% set goals with the best intentions to change. Biggest goal, you know what it is, Jason? The biggest goal every year.
It's weight loss.
Getting into the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Eating healthier. The number 2 is saving money. And number 3 is learning a new skill.
Yeah.
And to do all that, you have to have information. You have to go after that information. And then you have to put it in play. But most people, 90% of people give up on their goals in the first 2 weeks of January.
I believe it.
That's incredible. Wow. That's it's amazing. Okay, now going back to I told you what Harvard did, but Harvard also had a study going all the way back to 1979. I believe I did the Yale study of 1976-77 in the past on this show. Okay, so here we go with 3% of the Harvard MBA grads had specific written goals. 84% had no specific goals. 13%, now there's a little bit of difference on the percentages. 1% both ways, because it was 83 and 14 on the other one. But this is 1979. The numbers I gave you a while ago are current. 84% had specific goals. 13% had goals but hadn't written them down. 3% had specific written goals and plans on how to achieve them. Now, the 3% didn't change. The 83 went to 84 and the 14 went to 13. So here we are, 1979, 2024, 45 years later, and the percentages are basically still the same of the research then doing the research now. So it's not like this is a new drink that hit the shelves. This is not like the new menu at your local restaurant. This has been going on for years. Gave you those stats. In 1989, 10 years later, the researchers at Harvard followed up with the participants and found that the 13% of participants who had goals were earning twice as much as the 84% who had no goals. So 13% was earning twice as much as 84% because they had goals in their head, even though they hadn't written them down. Number 3 on the list is learning a new skill. The reason you want to learn new skills is to make more money. And you have just received a huge percentage of why you should be setting a goal. Okay, 84% had no specific goals. 13% had goals, but did not write them down. And that 13% of the participants who had goals were earning twice as much as the 84% who had no goals. The 3%, these are those overachievers, Jason. The 3% with written goals and plans to achieve them, how much more do you think that they were earning of the whole 97%? 13% wrote them down, 84%, 13% had goals, 84% did not, 97%. Of the 3% that wrote them down, and it's all, why would I go to college? Why do I do this? Learn more skill, make more money, bring more value to the marketplace. The 3%, how many more earnings times earnings do you think that they were making over the whole 97%?
I would say at least 3 times, 2.5, 3 times.
Okay, so the 13% that had goals but didn't write them down, making twice as much as the 84%. The 3% who wrote down their goals and plans were achieving 10 times as much as the other 97% combined. I think what I'd do on January 1st when I get up, I think I'd write down the goals before I even brush my teeth.
Yeah.
I don't know what else you need to know about goal setting than what we just gave. These are stats within 1 percentage point have been the same for almost 50 years. And it's been going on longer than that. But the research that we have going back to the 70s and then into today's present time. What type of people set goals? And this may mark out a lot of you, because you'll have to change your ways and change probably a lot of things in your life. You'll have to get off the couch. What type of people set goals? The overachievers, the goal setters. They have relentless focus. They're prolific, high energy, and talented. How do you get talented? Well, you have some talents when you were born, but by information and research and listening, you can become talented. They're hyper-focused. They work hard, they play hard. Then again, maybe they just work hard. But I'm all about that work hard, play hard. I actually work hard and play harder. But that 3%, you can hear all of the traits that they have. And we've talked about traits on this show. If you don't have those traits, maybe that's your first goal, to figure out how I'm going to become, how I'm going to change my life this year. And maybe when you go to the gym, you can listen to our show and many other research things, and you can accomplish 1 in 3. We can work on our health and we work on our skills right off the bat. In 1, 2 for 1, Jason, 2 for 1. Here's a continuation of that. And I saw this on LinkedIn this week. one of the richest men in China, Samarta Soccer. Samarta Soccer. He gave this illustration. You take a monkey, you put bananas in one pile and money in the other. What is the monkey going to choose?
Bananas.
He's going to choose the bananas because he knows the bananas and he knows the bananas will feed him. The reason he doesn't choose the money, because he knows nothing about money. He does not realize that the money can buy him all the bananas he could ever want. Okay? People. Let's put in front of people a wage or a business. And we'll say in the business, you're not going to achieve the wage for 1 year. So here you go. Here's you a check. It's a wage for the year. Here's you a business. What do people choose?
Guaranteed thing.
The guaranteed thing. They choose the wage because they do not realize that the business can make them a whole lot more money than the wage. The reason the monkey, just like the people, don't understand is because they don't know. You're not stupid. You're only ignorant. There is no excuse for being ignorant except for laziness. You have to go out and you have to obtain the information so that you can change lots of things in your life. Lots of things. So when you sit down and you're looking at the menu this evening, and the number one goal is the gym and eating right and getting healthier, maybe you need to start on another section of what you've been eating for the last X amount of years. Maybe we need to do some salads and some chicken instead of the meat lovers pizza. Maybe we should go and spend more time in the gym than we do watching TV. Nevertheless, so it doesn't have to be bananas or money. It doesn't have to be a salary or a business. It can be all kinds of things in your life. That comes from one of the richest men in China. And we all know that the Chinese, for some reason, have a lot of money. Now, there's a couple things as we come here towards the end of this episode that we think about when you think of New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. First thing I think of is Dick Clark, who hosted the shows forever. And frankly, I had to go look up this Ryan Seacrest guy.
Mm-hmm.
I see the people on there, but I don't know their names because they don't register with me like Dick Clark. So I did have to go look him up. You said you knew who he was, Jason. There's only one Dick Clark, and that's the one I think about. And just like we talked about last week with Christmas, what are the things you think about? Presents and food. And what is the number one thing people think about for New Year's Eve? Drinking.
Mm-hmm.
So, I know you're going to drink. Majority of you are going to drink. I'm going to even put the 80-20 rule into play that you're going to drink. So what did I do for you? I went and looked up healthy reasons you should drink. Healthy reasons and what you should be drinking. And I found an article by 17 Blue Digital. Never heard of that company. 17 Blue Digital. Had all kinds of comments. 9 healthy reasons you should drink bourbon. Bourbon, not whiskey. Bourbon is a whiskey. It's like the tree limb of whiskey. But I what is the difference? I went and looked. Bourbon has to have 51% corn, Jason, and it has to age for at least 2 years. Whiskey, you can have it today. But that's the difference in bourbon and whiskey. Those are the two main things. The corn, we got wheat and barley and rye.
Mm-hmm.
The corn, and it has to age to become a bourbon. So I've never went down that road with bourbon. But here are your 9 healthy reasons. Weight loss. Weight loss is the number one reason for drinking bourbon.
Interesting.
While drinking whiskey and bourbon, it should not substitute a healthy diet or exercise. Studies have shown that it can help with weight loss. A very big choice. Has very little calories, little sugar, no carbs, and a typical bourbon drink only has 100 calories. That's low calories. Reduces stress. Controls diabetes. Promotes healthy cholesterol levels. Prevents heart disease. Now this one, I mean, you know, I've heard about wine, and that'll help your cardiovascular system and help maybe unclog some arteries, etc. So I've heard about the heart and the cholesterol, and all that makes sense. I'd never heard of this one. Reduces risk of cancer. The acid in bourbon helps prevent our DNA from connecting with cancer-causing compounds. How about that?
Wow.
Acid is a potent antioxidant that develops as bourbon ages in wooden barrels.
Going to pick me up some on the way home.
You gonna do that? We're getting down here to the end. Number 7, it boosts your immune system and the way it functions. That old saying of the hot toddy, gonna have me a hot toddy, says it helps with colds, etc. I've always went with Vaseline. I'm not kidding you. I have Vaseline in my desk right now.
Wow.
Hey, some things your grandma teaches you just can't get away from.
I understand.
Boost your performance. Bourbon boosts your performance. A 2003 study published by the National Institute of Health shows that antioxidants in whiskey increases performance while lowering the risk of developing Alzheimer's or dementia.
So cognitive performance.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. That word, when I was reading some stuff, I did see that, but I forgot about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about that?
I like it.
You're going to get you 2 bottles now, aren't you?
Absolutely. Got to have me back up.
And number 9, the 9 healthy reasons to drink bourbon on New Year's Eve. It reduces hangover symptoms.
All for that.
While all spirits leave you with a hangover, if you overindulge, and remember all this has got to be no overindulging, bourbon will leave you with a milder hangover than most. Studies have shown that whiskey drinkers reported the least amount of hangover symptoms and recover quicker than alcohol drinkers who prefer other spirits such as beer. Well, I don't know about the viewing and listening audience, how they're going to go with that, but right here it is. The 9 healthy reasons you should be drinking bourbon, and actually all but the last one. I guess it's healthy to not have a hangover, so you can go function more, learn more information today. But there's reduces stress and weight loss, and then the heart, the cancer,
Yeah.
Alzheimer's,
This is a miracle.
dementia.
Yeah.
I think doctors should be prescribing this at your next office visit. Matter of fact, you should take the recording of this show to your doctor and see what he says. Maybe I'll give you a copy of this on the way out the door, Jason. You may want to go in and just buy a case. You don't want to run out in March.
Yeah.
Just go ahead and get set up for the whole year. Okay. It's time to sit down. It's time to get our goals in order. It is time to figure out what we're going to do in 2025. You have got to get started. Now, when you get started, you have to stay the course, as we have already given you some monumental statistics today. And the biggest one that we didn't harp on a whole lot is that 90% of people will quit in 14 days. It is a gym owner's dream. All these people sign up, and you go in there the first 2 weeks. You know, the health and fitness nuts, they don't go to the gym much in January. They let all the newbies
Don't want to deal with them all.
No, they let them all go away and they get back into their routine. So don't you become one of those 90 percentiles. And let's try very hard to take that 90% down into the 80s this year and not up into 92 to 95%. It's time to make a change. Money Motivation and Mike will continue to try to help you do that. And going back and looking at our actual goals episode, going back and looking at our actual information episode, what do you think those, Jason, a couple years ago, right? Like 22 or somewhere in there?
Yeah.
Those older episodes. Just because this is the episode we put out today, every episode we have is online. Is I correct?
It is.
So you can go back and you can find one that meets your needs. You can also, as always, contact us at info@mx3.vip. Find all of our content at mx3.vip or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@mx3podcast. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get notified of all of our new content, which Jason puts out every Monday morning for Money, Motivation, and Mike. So, Jason, we are signing off for 2024. Was as of right now 105,262 YouTube subscribers. And we will see you in 2025.